All right, hello. It's another episode of Mid-Card Mana, and we have here the loose cannon, Sam Keola.
You got it right finally. All night you've been mixing us up.
I mean, we just look so much alike, is why.
Yeah, we
it's
do.
like looking in a mirror. So this is our
weekly roundup
for the WWE.
Raw and SmackDown.
Raw, SmackDown, 205, and NXT.
I don't get to watch it live, so I caught
mean,
it today.
none of us get to watch it live in Hawaii.
Sometimes I actually catch it before it even airs over here.
Oh, because you have the different.
Yeah, like I have different places where I can watch it, and
well, I just meant that you have the different. So you have the channels that sync up with the times on the mainland, whereas mine's don't.
Yeah, and so it's like, oh, I can watch it now, or I can wait till it's on TV, which I can't because it comes on so late. So sometimes I watch it at the right time.
Yeah.
And which is 6 hours time difference basically for us. So or 5, depending on time of year. Which you crazy people, you're changing time zones.
Keola text messaged me.
Do you have an ass cramp?
Maybe.
Anyway, so yes, the weekly
His
roundup.
name on my phone is Seth Rollins. Because I hate Seth Rollins.
That's
my name in his phone is Tammy Lynn Sitch,
so
shows what that
Raw.
is. Monday Night Raw. So Monday Night Raw on November 13th, this past Monday, 2017, show opened up with Steph berating Kurt Angle again. Saying that, maybe for Raw's 25th anniversary show, we should show a highlight reel. And then shows a highlight reel of all of Kurt Angle's failings as general manager.
It's a really interesting thing, because here's how I picture this going is you have heel Steph really building this feud up, like the preemptive feud for Angle versus Triple H. But I think what we're going to see is Triple H face and Angle heel in the feud.
Because it was a good point that you pointed out earlier, Triple H, especially when he's trying to distance himself from the perception of the authority, uses it's time to play the game,
and the fans know automatically
bow down
it's time to pop.
The king.
And they do, and that's exactly what happened at the end of Raw. And so Stephanie basically said, hey, your son's out. What is that crap? You picked Jason Jordan on this team. She's like, I need to be proven
that he's good enough.
It looks like Stephanie's going to fire Angle, and Shield comes out, saves the day, and
as much as that situation can be saved.
So,
but Roman Reigns is back, everyone.
Roman Reigns is
got
back.
over the viral meningitis,
or whatever it was, mumps. I heard mumps. I heard
measles,
viral meningitis.
Rubella.
Tell you what it was.
Keone Cook posits that it was herpes.
Whatever it was.
Whatever.
I don't think it was herpes.
I don't think it was either.
He's too Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah, he is.
For it to be herpes, and that should be his character, but they try to push him like he's Stone Cold.
The big dog.
First match, I believe, was Jason Jordan versus Bray Wyatt.
The first match of the night was not, but that was the first match out of the people that were.
Okay. What was the first match of the night?
So the first match of the night was to figure out who was going to be the last member of the Raw women's team.
Oh, okay.
So that was Dana Brooke versus Mickie James versus Bayley.
That's right.
And of course, some people came out and interfered. Asuka notably got involved with Dana Brooke, sort of reminiscent of their time in NXT.
Bayley finally ends up winning one.
Bayley won, which I was so happy with.
I'm curious if this will set up a heel Bayley turn, or if it's going to set up a heel Sasha turn. Either which way, I think it's going to happen at Survivor Series.
I do too. I think definitely it's been building up for some time that there is going to be a dissolution of their friendship, especially because their friendship has been pushed to the moon.
Or they could swerve us and actually turn both heel.
With each other.
Yeah.
And have them be like, the rest of the world screwed us.
Right. And both of them get there or whatever.
And be the heel best friends of Raw.
Yeah. I mean, it could happen. I just say that because almost every opinion out there, from opinions that doesn't matter, like ours, to opinions that are legends in the business, will agree that Sasha Banks should be heel.
Yeah. She's fantastic as a heel. I loved her as a heel. Her big heel run in NXT, especially when she was feuding with Charlotte. She got match against Charlotte and finally ended up winning. During a Fatal 4-Way match, actually.
But at the same time,
she had such good heel work.
All the people that think that also want to see Bayley heel.
Yeah.
So I think it's a possibility.
That is my other dream. So everyone knows my dream of a Sami Zayn heel turn that has sort of come to fruition. But my other favorite, so my two favorites were always Sami and Bayley, and I always wanted both of them to go heel. Because I thought that it would open up so many more opportunities for them to prove themselves as competitors, because they're oftentimes perceived as not a threat because they are so happy and positive and so at times unshakably face.
In the way I see it is that if you turn one heel, not the other, you resolve the tension that's been building, but it'd be wasted. You know, so to me, look, you turn them both heel, you do the run with them both as heels, you keep building that tension, and then one eventually turns face again. Preferably, the feud would have the title on the line. Yeah. So I would keep building it. Then Jason Jordan versus Bray Wyatt. Was that the next match?
The next match was...
Or is that just the next match?
It's the next match you remember, because the next match was a cruiserweight match. So that was Drew Gulak, who has been getting over.
Yes.
Finally. And Enzo Amore versus Kalisto and Akira Tozawa.
Filler.
Of course. Well, I mean, of course, because these men are locked in feuds with each other. Of course, Enzo and Kalisto and Gulak and Tozawa. And I did like this match a lot. I liked the whole lucha, or lucha, ha. I love Tozawa.
It's interesting, yeah.
That pleased me a whole lot. What did not please me is that Tozawa is the one that took the pin after Jadonzo, aka defeat from...
Of course they were going to do that. I mean, yeah.
Well, of course, because they couldn't have Drew Gulak beat Kalisto.
Right.
And so Enzo had to beat Tozawa.
Because then Enzo looked strong going into the pay-per-view at least. So.
And Kalisto couldn't lose.
Right.
So my Tozawa took the pin. It was disappointing. So the next match was that was announced, or the next batch of matches that were announced were Jason Jordan versus Wyatt, Balor and Joe versus Good Brothers, and Braun versus Kane.
Right. So the next couple matches.
What happened next actually was a Miz TV segment. So Miz TV talking Miz versus Corbin, and then Shield versus Mizbar. Getting relative hype over for both of those matches.
And Miz is so great. He can either turn the crowd in his favor, or he can just make everybody hate him. And this is becoming more relevant with every show. There's been some shows where the Miz goes out there and the crowd is just so hyped to see him that he just works them up and he gets an actual face reaction.
Yeah. Which I thought was pretty cool.
And I mean it's really crazy. I mean he's really probably one of the most talented people on the roster right now.
I mean just his mic skills alone, honestly, are able to elicit so many different responses from people depending on what he actually wants to accomplish. So I am a fan of his ability to do that. And I did like how
I feel like he did that with this show
it can possibly build towards a face turn, like how you've been saying for the Miz, especially when he talks about Baron Corbin talking about Maurice and his unborn child. It's very much here's this new dad that's here to fight for the honor of his family,
But at the same time, he knows that this show, he really worked it up.
Is he hot?
Oh my God.
We have a surprise visit from the one and the only.
The sun god.
From the sun god himself.
We're recording a thing, yeah.
Yeah.
You can be in it if you want.
Pop in to say hi?
Your voice is already in it.
Yeah.
Wrestling's great. It's the best thing ever. I love wrestling.
One day.
That is the Ichiban, as it were.
One day I'm going to get my writing buddies, and we're going to talk writing and wrestling in a video. It's going to happen.
He just brought a bunch of bananas.
You can have some
awesome.
too.
There's Austin Aries up in here. He's Ace single though, because he doesn't have he doesn't have Ace for his first and last name. Feel free to
pitch in.
Yeah, if you want. Here, you
I have nothing to.
You can sit on my lap if you want.
Oh, I smell really bad.
So yeah, Miz plays up his part and gets everybody hating on him in this show. And and gets it set up for the Shield to go over more, which Roman Reigns needs, I guess. I mean, they need something.
The Shield coming up big?
Definitely.
Was it a good move?
To have the Shield come up this big? I mean, they needed something.
You'll find this funny. They actually had a health sickness outbreak that took out Roman Reigns, Bray Wyatt, a couple of
Bo Dallas.
So they just their pay-per-view just got totally demolished because everybody was sick.
Oh,
they had to replace people.
That's why they all brought them back together. The reunion.
Well, they brought them back together for the reunion, and then they got sick.
Oh,
yeah. So then they didn't get that reunion that they've been hyping for a while.
So what was that? The match after that?
So the match after the Miz TV was Jason Jordan versus Bray Wyatt.
I was very upset that they actually had Bray job to Jordan, even though he got his heat after the match. He takes Jordan. He takes his knee out.
Jason Jordan couldn't lose that match, especially because then it would. Well, I mean, especially because then it would have given more credence to Steph being like,
"Told you."
Yeah, kick him off the team.
So I mean,
they needed to have him win. They needed to have him have a good showing so that when he finally got kicked off the team,
Bray is the thing. Really, this is your big Bray return.
Well, there was someone that made a very good point over on Cage Side Seats, as I'm dropping that, that Bray has oftentimes been used as a sort of measure of talent, where if you look at who he wins to and who he loses to, he's very much.
Oh yeah.
And they said they use the term gatekeeper, and I actually think that's brilliant. Because he's that next step, and if you don't make it past Bray Wyatt, then you kind of very clearly know where you are on the card.
That's true.
Are you gonna go? All right, so we were talking, I think, about Jason Jordan and Bray Wyatt.
Yes.
So
Bray loses.
Bray does lose.
Does the job, and then he gets a little heat back by taking Jordan's
knee out specifically. And then they have a segment where they're looking over his knee backstage, and Kurt Angle expresses sort of like a concern of, I don't know if you should compete in the Survivor Series match if you're injured like this. But before they can give any sort of confirmation, it goes to Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar.
The typical segment with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, where I mean Heyman gets the opponent over.
Except somebody proposed in the audience that actually interrupted the show. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
part.
with this she said yes.
She said yes chant, and they actually paused, and Heyman
acknowledged it. Mm-hmm. She only said yes because she hasn't been with a beast.
And so that was pretty funny.
Which is terrifying. But okay. Cool. Yeah. Nice acknowledgement. So, I'm sure that for a mark that was probably really cool.
Just the typical Paul Heyman segment, which are always good.
Yeah.
What was after that?
After that was Shield versus Miz and the Bar. Because they are the Bar. And that ended, of course, with a triple power bomb to the Miz.
Yeah. Because
Sheamus or Cesaro probably shouldn't have lost.
Right.
And
the
you know,
Miz
it's
shouldn't have lost
pretty.
either, but
I mean, and it was pretty typical of
it was
what you would expect from that match. And then comes the confrontation between Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan, where Kurt Angle's like, I don't think you should be competing with this injury. And he's like, you competed with a broken freaking neck and you want a gold medal.
Yeah. I mean,
this is my chance, Dad.
I will give Jordan credit.
This is my chance, Dad.
He really played it up.
Oh man, I started tearing up. I've always loved Jason Jordan. Jason Jordan is bae, but
the crowd really does it.
But he sold that to the moon. Honestly,
because I mean, all night I believe there was a chant of "Thank you, Wyatt" when he took the knee out.
Yeah, there was.
And then, of course, at this point, Triple H comes out.
Pedigree.
And he does.
And he does.
And of course, it's the setup for Angle versus.
Angle doesn't stop him.
No. And it's kind of weird because, I mean, Angle, the point that he is at, and they really try to play Angle up like he's, could be easily hurt, and he's so fragile. And then you turn around and on SmackDown, he delivers an Angle slam. So it's, I don't know what they're planning with the Angle, but it's not consistent.
It's not.
So
we'll see how this ends up panning out, or even working at all, if it does.
Yeah.
Anyway,
of course, that's close to the end, right?
Yeah. So there's 2 matches after that. So there's Balor and Joe.
Yes, that's right.
Versus the Good Brothers.
Which was a pretty good match.
And of course, it showed off the tag team work between Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. I mean, they were the inaugural winners of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic.
I think we really get to see Joe put over this match, especially his actions and how he was treating Balor. He kind of shoves him around. He's like, "Do your job." Joe, I thought, got over in this match. I don't know about Balor.
Joe definitely looked excellent in this match, honestly.
I expected a little bit more of tension to fight his Good Brothers. Because it seemed like there was a tease of that when it was announced.
Yeah, I was.
So I thought
when I heard it, I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, I thought it would be something more in the match, but it wasn't. So there was that. So then the final match.
But Balor is the one that got the pin on Carl Anderson after a coup de grace.
Yeah, Joe took out Gallows and just walked off.
Yeah, and right after
he was like, "Match is over,
done."
And he was just like left like a boss.
Yeah.
The last match was Kane versus Braun Strowman,
which technically I think ended in a no contest because of the fact that
it never started. I think they said
Braun Strowman.
There was never a pin.
Put Kane through the ring.
Yeah, it was. I've never been a fan of the going through the ring moments or coming up through the ring moments.
So you've never liked Kane.
I like Kane. I just think it's a little too corny having him come up through the ring.
Ascend from hell.
Yeah. And also where they put the people through the ring.
Descend into hell.
It's corny. It's also dangerous. That's what ended Davey Boy Smith's career, was that he fell on one of those trap doors, and I think his spine dissolved.
Yeah.
He had a couple vertebrae that dissolved, and then bad.
It was ugly.
So yeah, that was Raw. SmackDown
for Tuesday, November 14th opens with Shane giving an inspirational speech. After this, they're not going to call us the B Show. They're going to call us The Show. And then you see everyone getting stoked except for Kevin Owens in the back, just stone-faced.
What was the match lineup?
Oh, and I want to say that when he talks to Becky Lynch, she's like, "Yeah, the only thing that's going to be broken is Asuka's arm."
Yeah.
And I was just like...
But then it gets worse because they talk to Corbin. He's like,
"It'll be the end of days."
And it was just like, oh.
The end of Mrs. Days. Like, all right.
Xavier does his best to sell it. Yeah.
I know, Xavier is excellent.
Yeah.
He's a treasure.
Let other people talk. but they didn't.
And SmackDown's got it. Well, because SmackDown rocks. SmackDown rocks. SmackDown rocks. Okay, I chanted for that because I love Biggie.
Me too.
Yeah, he's great. So first thing,
He's my favorite.
he's so good. He has boots that have his face on it. It's just excellent. So first thing, Daniel Bryan is back.
That's right.
So I'm wearing the no shirt because Daniel Bryan is back after his attack by Kane. So Team Hell No.
Yes is under it.
Yeah.
So Daniel Bryan
So
talks up a little bit, and then he introduces the world champion AJ Styles, and announces that he will
The
be
reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the world, AJ Styles.
I'm glad that they said world instead of just WWE champion.
And then Daniel Bryan
he's going to be the advocate for AJ Styles
and
will be in
proceeds
his
to
corner.
cut such a good promo against Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Talking
And
about
AJ.
how he, he's good in the first couple minutes, but he gasses out real fast, and once the blood leaves his brain, he's very quick to just mentally check out.
And then AJ
And you're gonna
interrupts,
see,
he's like,
I'm not a puppet.
unlike Brock, I can actually talk for myself.
I know that was.
And it was really good promo against Brock. I think this is the roots of AJ or Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar in the future.
The David versus Goliath that we've been waiting for.
If Daniel Bryan gets involved in the match, my opinion is that AJ Styles is going to win, and maybe it'll be Daniel Bryan's fault, and Brock versus Bryan down the road. Hopefully at Mania,
Which would sell out arenas.
yeah. I mean, if they really are looking at Wrestle Kingdom and
No, like
Jericho
what
versus
can go?
Omega.
Yeah, what can go against this?
Reigns versus Lesnar is
It's not it.
So
Styles versus Lesnar or Daniel Bryan versus Lesnar. Daniel Bryan competing against anyone would blow the roof off
It
of
would.
wherever it's going to happen. The fanfare that he would receive upon making an in-ring return against anyone,
yeah,
and I mean that literally anyone, would be huge. He could fight Kurt Hawkins and the place would come down. It would be obvious he was going to win, but I mean, honestly,
Kurt Hawkins is still with WWE at this moment,
and still with his uninterrupted streak of losses.
He's like a Bizarro wrestler. Bizarro Goldberg.
But of course, as we're talking about SmackDown, there is someone that is no longer with SmackDown Live, and that is James Ellsworth.
James Ellsworth.
Any man with two hands
Finally got the dog collar off.
could
And
have some future endeavors.
no chin.
The Big Hog. Too bad we couldn't see the Big Hog versus the Big Dog.
I'm kind of sad to see him go.
I mean, he used his time the most effectively. He had title matches.
I mean,
And then he went out getting thrown around by a bunch of chicks.
I don't see
like,
how you can't.
That, as
come
a
up with
wrestler,
something.
that's your dream.
Come up with something for him, but they're trying to cut money. So, what was the next match?
So the next match after that is Corbin versus Sin Cara for the title, with championship implications, or with
Right.
Survivor Series implications.
And I mean, they have swapped titles around heading into this pay-per-view, so it was a possibility.
It wasn't a
but-
very high possibility in this
Yeah.
match. Because you knew that, especially with the heat between Baron
Sin
Corbin and The
Cara
Miz.
really hasn't done anything leading into this feud, so his wins over Corbin have been like count-outs, DQs, things like that. So this was like the go-home for the mini feud to give Corbin a little bit of heat going into his
Yeah, and
match with
have him go in winning a feud. You know what I mean?
this. Yeah,
Especially because he lost
everything.
everything else. So the next match after that was Natalya versus Charlotte
I was really surprised
for the women's title.
that they
They
did
changed
swap
the titles.
Yeah,
well, honestly, Charlotte versus Bliss is definitely the more engaging and interesting match on paper.
on paper. Yeah,
It remains to be seen how it'll play out. But I mean, I think as far as someone who will very clearly physically dominate Alexa Bliss because of the size difference is a lot more visible between the two of them. So I think that is definitely going to be something that's going to be a little bit more interesting to watch, perhaps.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that this is a solid baby face versus heel match.
Yeah.
With Charlotte winning, Ric Flair made the surprise entrance of
really the only
beating, which I liked. I like that Ric Flair's there for every title win of hers.
The only heel versus heel match on the card for Survivor Series is going to be US and IC. I mean, technically speaking.
Yeah. I mean, there's also Usos versus Bar.
Usos are turning face, so they're going to get the face response. They're going to be the faces in the match.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, you could say they have already turned face.
They took a count-out loss to retain their belts, so that still remains to be seen as to...
Their promos are coming across face. American Alpha are showing heel tactics, taking out the knees, doing all these other things, cheating to win. So, I mean, it's not solidified yet, but it's, tweeners right now. That's a topic for another day.
Yes. So, of course, like we said, Charlotte ended up winning the match with figure 8, which is nice to see her actually use the figure 8 specifically again. Yeah. It's been kind of a while, and it's definitely been more of her go-to face move than her heel move. So it was nice to see. Actually, now that I think about it, because Natural Selection was a lot more of her go-to heel move to win matches, and to see her now use the figure 4 bridge, or the figure 8 as they call it, is sort of a nice nod to the legacy of the Flair family.
Yeah. I don't know if she really didn't know that Rick was there.
I mean,
it was. I don't know. I don't know if it was played up or whatever, but it was a nice.
I would like to think that she didn't know, because I thought it was a very nice moment.
Yeah.
And I had recently read something.
Their themes are so similar. She didn't really seem like she knew what was happening.
Yeah.
When she stopped, the theme cut off, and then Flair's theme started, but it was almost like, did they just, was it just on repeat?
Yeah.
Sort of thing, or what was going on?
And she sort of looked around a little bit, and then just looked back and just holding up, and then Flair comes out, and honestly, and I've read something that I really liked, was that Ric Flair's greatest legacy isn't the 16-time championship, or isn't being a 16-time champion, isn't being in the Hall of Fame twice. It's his daughter.
It's David Flair.
His daughter.
In the WCW era.
No, but I mean, and I thought it was really nice, especially because of how
it is.
They've had him willingly show that he knows at this point it's no longer about him, and so he gives his daughter that spotlight.
He is her biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think honestly that is really sweet, and I like it a whole lot. I don't care what anyone thinks.
And I think especially since I feel that he, coming from that decades earlier, he had probably a lot of hopes riding on David, who just didn't get trained properly.
Yeah.
And then there was Reed, who they had a lot of high hopes on as being the legacy, and who passed away early in his career. And as for Charlotte, I don't think he expected it.
Yeah.
So I think this was a real big surprise. A
pleasant surprise.
In his
of course.
Life, so.
And of course for Charlotte to have gone so far in her career in such a short amount of time, relatively, I think that has definitely added to it. And yeah, I definitely agree that his
an
greatest
interesting
legacy...
note was Flair compared. I heard it in an interview somewhere.
Oh, in 30 for 30, or
no, like him and Charlotte were talking, and they were talking about Natalya, because Natalya really put Charlotte on the map.
Definitely in their matches in NXT.
And she was like, "Well, who would she be in your career?" And he said that Natalya was Charlotte's Wahoo McDaniel.
Huh. That's a very interesting
for Flair, to say that, because I think Charlotte was like, would she be her Steamboat, or he was like, no, she would be your Wahoo. And I thought, that's a pretty interesting comparison.
I like it.
So yeah, next match.
So the next match after that was the tag team matches we were talking about earlier, actually. So that wasn't specifically a tag team. It was between two tag team singles and two tag teams. So that was Jimmy Uso versus Chad Gable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just continuing the double switch.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are still like, oh, they're heels. But it's a nice slow change. The Usos started the face turn when they recognized the New Day.
New Day. Yeah. No, definitely.
Mad respect. They come out. That's when the face turn really started. And each week, it kind of goes a little
Gravitated
bit
more towards.
And I guess with American Alpha 2.0...
American Beta.
That's
what I'm calling them.
That... they're showing just different things like to get fans irritated. I feel like I think it
mostly through Chad Gable.
Yeah, I think it
honestly
works.
Because Chad Gable is.
But in the match, we see was it this week's match where Gable comes out from under the ring? Or was that last week?
I believe that was last week.
So they've been cheating basically to win, and it's working.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely. Getting that switch over.
My predictions for the pay-per-view is that American Beta will actually interfere in the match and cost the Usos the win. Set up, further their feud. Set up a title shot.
Another one.
Something like that, yeah.
A no DQ or no countouts or something like that. So the next match after that was the tag team match between the New Day, so Xavier Woods and Big E, versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Proving my worst fears correct. Sami Zayn did not get his own entrance and instead just entered with KO. Didn't even get a little bit of the whoa or whatever his new theme would have been.
It is the Kevin and Sami show.
It's the Sami and Kevin show, according to Kevin Owens. So you need to.
So this was the match where Raw
invaded. We've been waiting for it. I honestly figured that if it didn't happen immediately after, it was gonna happen on the Go Home show.
I really felt that this invasion was not as good as SmackDown's invasion. Primarily because you actually got to see the SmackDown locker room minus the big stars go through Raw and just obliterate everybody.
Yeah.
And this only took place in the ring.
No, they had backstage.
A little bit of backstage, but not
mostly the women's.
But not as much as SmackDown had when they invaded Raw. But I think they could have saved it by actually featuring Braun Strowman more, but they didn't. I thought they would go home with the finish of Braun power slamming Shane.
I mean, not
necessarily through the ring.
I did really like. But one thing of note before we get too much into the Siege retaliation is, so for a while when we see the Shield coming in and other members coming in,
their split shirt.
Yeah, we still see the three members of New Day and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and then as they get closer, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn get out of Dodge.
Yes,
they just leave. And roll out of the ring, and then the other members of the New Day are like, "What are you doing? Where are you going?"
So it's like Sammy and Kevin are both on the end.
Yeah, they're the bookending it.
And then Shield comes around, and then Sammy and Kevin kind of look at each other and kind of step back and
then roll out of the ring.
And
leave.
Was it Big E who was like?
I think
in the final turnaround, like what?
It was either Big E or Xavier.
And then of course Sammy and Kevin book it, and Raw just starts pouring in. The Shield comes in first, and then I think
the Bar.
The Bar comes out and slowly.
The Shield comes in, and then Usos come in, and then the Bar comes in, and then the rest of the Raw Survivor Series team comes in, and Joe looked like a monster. Oh, yeah. Joe looked amazing. Oh my god! As soon as I saw him, I was like, Joe, do it.
There was a few good points with it, like Joe coming in, Shane running down, like as fast as he could.
I laughed so hard.
I thought it was great.
It looked good.
Looked real.
No, it looked genuine.
Like he
but I was just
gonna
like, oh my god, how he
day.
runs.
The other thing was when Usos came into the ring
and they faced off with
Roman, and it was like both of them or all three of them just stopped and kind of like looked at each other, and it was a nice touch because Rollins and Ambrose was there to jump them really quick instead of it being too long of a tease. Yeah, it was a good tease. Will we ever get it? Who knows?
I would like it. I think that would be really cool.
I do think the ending where, Shield does the Shield bomb to Shane, Angle hits the Angle slam.
I did like how it looked like SmackDown was gonna turn the tides, and then you just hear
Braun comes out and just destroys
and then he
everyone.
looks at Angle, and they nod at each other, and then he just goes. That was a terrible impression of Braun Strowman. But I mean, that's it.
I really did think we would see like a choke slam or a power slam from Braun. Instead, he just cheerleaded Shield on. I think it would have been better if we ended with Braun. Just he reaches if after the Angle slam, I think he should have reached down, picked up Shane, choke slammed him, picked him up, choke slammed him, picked him up, choke slammed him. And instead he turns to the crowd and he goes, "You want to see it again?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so they do another Shield bomb. But I was like, okay, well, it is what it is.
Yep.
So that's the go home SmackDown.
And then the 205 was a birthday celebration for Kalisto.
I didn't get to see 205.
And then it was yet another tag match, a tornado tag team match between Rich Swann and Cedric Alexander versus the Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher, which it ended the same way all of their matches end, with Cedric Alexander getting the pin on the Brian Kendrick after a lumbar check. So there was also a match between Ari Daivari, who cut a promo talking about how he really hopes Enzo retains, because if Enzo loses, then that means it's less money for the Cruiserweight division. And Mustafa Ali comes in and basically calls him a jabroni in not so many words.
Dad, how do you spell print?
Prince?
How do you spell printer?
P-R...
Yeah, I didn't get to catch the 205 or
IN?
NXT this week yet. It's kind of a shame that they're just keep repeating this match, though, instead of...
T-E.
I mean, they changed it up a little bit, but it would be nice to see that they changed it up a little bit more so.
R.
I don't know if this feud is worth having the same match every week.
Yeah, it seems kind of wasted. There's also the feud going on between Ari Daivari and Mustafa Ali. Of course, Mustafa Ali is coming out on top more because he's the face, but Mustafa Ali also got the win within 054, the reverse 450. And then finally there was another match between Kalisto and Drew Gulak.
Okay, honey.
After Salida del Sol. So, of course, Kalisto stands tall on the Go Home 205 before the Cruiserweight match.
Yeah, I don't think Kalisto's going to win it.
I don't either. And then finally, NXT. So Street Profits, which is the team of Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. Angelo Dawkins finally has a solid tag team. Props to him. Ended up
I like Dawkins too, but
winning a match.
I'm not sold on Street Profits yet.
Not yet.
No.
But they're still relatively new as far as the tag team goes. And I mean, Angelo Dawkins has been in NXT for a long time. And Montez Ford is a regularly new prospective. So hopefully this means better things for them, especially because they got the win over Tino Sabatelli and Riddick Moss. So it's nice to see them getting that dominance. Lars Sullivan ended up beating Raul Mendoza again after his finisher, which is called a freak accident. And that's a deadlift into a side slam.
Yeah, I do like his finisher. It's it's a good move for a big guy like him. That's not your typical choke slam, power bomb, that kind of move. It is that, but it's different.
It's it's not overly technical that it's not going to be difficult for you to perform on people, but it's still technical. But it's still technical enough that it's not just, like a shoulder tackle or...
Also, it's nice in a way that, like, with the choke slam, you have to really set it up visually. This one, you could just hit. They just run at you, and you just kind of pick them up and throw them down.
So it helps to build him as the beast. Or
this is the guy,
monster, or what's a name that's not taken? Really strong guy. Wait, no, that's Roman Reigns.
No, Reigns is not the strong guy. He's just the guy.
That's true.
Dog.
The big dog.
Yard? I don't know. No, I mean he's definitely fits the mold for a monster heel.
He does.
He
definitely does.
We did have Strowman in that role. You could say Lesnar's been that when he is heel. Umaga was the monster heel. Kali. Any big guy. And I mean,
Rusev.
Rusev, just, when he started. And I think Lars Sullivan's like 6'3", maybe? I mean, he's not humongous, but he's got
He's big enough.
Yeah, he's big enough. He's really muscular. He's got giant hands and a big head. I mean, he has like his old school carnival look to him. And I think at a time where everybody's getting smaller wrestling wise, it works.
Yeah. And so he had the match with Raul Mendoza, which of course he ended up winning. And so he continued to brutalize Mendoza until, oh no.
Someone's got to be a hero.
No. Comes in to try and stop the assault, and Lars Sullivan basically laughs in his face. Literally laughs in his face.
That may be the best match on the card. It may surprise us and be...
I have high hopes because I do love Cassius Ohno. I'm a big fan of... He's my hero.
No pun intended either.
He is literally also my hero because as a person who is considered fat by a lot of people, I'm talking about myself. And he's
he doesn't fit the WWE mold, but this guy can do things that 205 cannot.
Yeah, he is incredible.
He is. I still say that they should have had him come out instead of Angle for the Shield at TLC.
Yeah, that would have the real Shield.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think that'll be a good match at War Games.
Gargano ends up afterwards talking to Regal, talking about his recent losses, and is like, I'm really sorry that I've been losing so much, but my losing streak's about to end. I'm gonna win this next one. He's like, well, it's great that you think so, Johnny, because Pete Dunne issued an open challenge for his UK title, and so you're up, buddy. I got faith in you.
Hey.
And I would like to see Johnny Gargano win. I don't think that Pete Dunne would be the person he wins against, but I mean, he needs.
Maybe this is the way that they
get
Done
get a
little bit of
into the cruiserweight division because he's not the champ.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make Gargano relevant again, this would be a way to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have kind of broken him down to where you just expect he's going to lose.
Yeah.
So maybe that's their plan. Put him in this match. Everybody expects he'll lose. He wins. He's the UK champion. That'll actually get the title defended more in NXT and around the way.
It's true.
And you put Pete Dunne in 205
to beat Enzo.
Honestly,
to beat the crap out of Enzo.
You really couldn't find someone to carry the title more in 205 than Pete Dunne.
Except for perhaps Hideo Itami.
Ooh.
When he finally shows up.
I would hope that they would put him on the main roster, but yeah.
So after that, there was the match between Mercedes Martinez and Ember Moon. So Mercedes Martinez in the past weeks has been talking a lot of smack about Ember Moon, going, I'm not sure who's going to win that match, the Fatal 4-Way, but I know who's not going to win, Ember Moon, because she chokes and she can't win the big one. And Ember Moon, of course, ended up getting the win against Mercedes Martinez after an Eclipse.
I don't.
Which is the corkscrew stunner.
Is a great move.
The top rope is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've said in other things, I think Ember Moon will win it.
Just not now.
Just not now. The next pay-per-view, maybe. If she isn't brought up to the main roster already. Yeah. I don't know. It depends on how much they want to fan out their women's division.
Yeah.
Who knows? If it's not Paige, if they don't bring Paige back, I think it'll be Ember Moon.
Fingers crossed, we'll see.
Big payday for her. 2 pay-per-views, 1 weekend.
So the next match they talk about is they book Ruby Riott versus Sonya Deville for the same takeover undercard.
Mm-hmm.
Or undercard, like the pre-show to takeover, which is going to end up airing the NXT afterwards. Right. And then we finally get the main thing of the night, which is a face-off between Drew McIntyre and Andrade Almas, in which Zelina Vega actually hits goes to attempt to hit a crossbody. And I was gonna say Calloway. McIntyre catches her and tries and starts to put her down, and then almost hits the La Sombra, the Hammerlock DDT.
Mm-hmm. I love that he calls it La Sombra.
I'm pretty sure he calls it La Sombra.
Really, War Games is stacking up to be a phenomenal pay-per-view. It's going to have a lot of really good matches.
Yeah.
And
outside of even just the War Games match.
Right. Especially outside of the War Games match. It's going to be hard, I think, for Survivor Series to top. And it kind of comes down every time we have a NXT pay-per-view and a main roster pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. It's hard for them to top the NXT pay-per-view.
I don't think it's ever happened, actually. I think the NXT pay-per-view has always consistently been stronger.
Mm-hmm. And especially because they're pushing this new thing with Survivor Series, which is the only time of year
where Raw and SmackDown.
Did you notice that Jason Jordan actually had to say that in his?
Yeah, and I was just like, why did they make him do that?
It was just terrible. I don't
why are they gonna make people hate him?
Yes, even more. But I mean, he pulled it off, but with
horrible. Tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
You think that helped him cry? Because they're like, I can't believe they're making me
He's
say
like,
this.
I'm so going to get cut. I'm going to get fired.
Gonna get future.
They're going to hire Sawyer Fulton back before. This is your real son, Kurt.
What's Jordan Jason's doing in the Impact Zone?
Oh, well, did he team with EC3 in NXT for a while? Or am I imagining that?
You are imagining it.
I know they fought, but I was thinking they teamed together too. Anyway, I think Survivor Series may fall flat compared to War Games.
I think definitely. Unless they pull out some real incredible stuff for Survivor Series. The War Games match itself, I think, will probably be a lot more thrilling than the Survivor Series match.
What's left? Because I don't want to veer too far off.
That was it.
That is it?
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm just going to throw this out there because we've talked a lot about everything else already. But what I fear is going to happen in Survivor Series.
Oh, no.
Is I fear Brock is just going to decimate AJ.
That would be... I would be disgusted.
Yeah. I just feel like, there is a possibility that could happen.
And that depresses me.
Yeah, and it's not so far out of reality that could happen. I fear that the men's Survivor Series match could just flop. I mean,
there's a decent possibility of that.
That it could end up with Cena and Orton as the last two standing members of Team SmackDown and winning, and that gets nobody over and does nothing for anybody. Except
but he's John Cena.
and Orton. Right. And I mean, that's how they're always booked. Rusev's in the match too, right? So I wonder if what's his face will be at ringside, since Rusev will be out there.
Rusev's not in the match.
He's not?
No, I thought you were being facetious.
No, that's right. John Cena's the last guy. Wasn't it supposed to be like Rusev won the match, so he was supposed to be on the team? What am I forgetting has happened?
Did you have a stroke? What's going on?
I don't know.
So it was the match that was called for SmackDown a week ago.
Yeah.
Was
if he beat
AJ Styles versus Rusev. Then Styles got booked in the match with Mahal. Right. So then it was AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal and Rusev versus Randy Orton.
Right.
If Rusev wins, he's on the team, and if Randy Orton wins,
Orton
then
win?
he's not. Randy Orton won.
I'm thinking of a different ending. What was the one where Rusev actually beat Orton really quick? Wasn't that like not?
That was
that the week before?
Long ago. That was very long ago.
They must have just like showed a flashback or something.
Maybe you're flashing.
Maybe
back.
I'm like just wishing things.
I think so.
I don't know.
Anyway, that is our week in review for WWE, gearing up to Survivor Series.
Yeah, and War Games.
And War Games
specifically.
So we'll see what happens, and we're gonna try and
back
do
next week crying.
Yeah, we'll try and do a review video as early as Monday, perhaps, on Survivor Series and War Games. So we'll see you then.